Should we maybe put a spoiler alert at the top of this show for KOTOR?
It's an old-ass game.
I know, but it's so good.
Don't listen to this until you play it. There, we did it.
I can say, why don't I say a little thing? We say spoilers for KOTOR, all right? And then we'll put that at the beginning.
Who listens to this show thinking they're not going to be spoiled for the thing that they're listening to?
Yeah, but...
I just love
the plot twist in Knights of the Old Republic
it.
is arguably the greatest video game plot twist of all time.
Okay, you know what? Future Miles?
This whole conversation could just go at the beginning.
Yeah, leave Dan, crying about this.
Spoilers coming for Knights of the Old Republic. If you haven't played it, go play it. It's really good.
And it has maybe the best twist of any video game ever, which we are going to spoil very hard in this match.
Yes.
Hey, Miles, if you're listening to this, thank you for editing. You're really great.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Smash Fiction. The podcast where we pit two or more fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or light side, or dark side, or light side, or dark side. I just can't choose. This week, we're stuck in the middle with Starkiller versus Revan. 3 seconds after David Kehoe sensed the slightest disturbance in the Force, he was out of his bed, on his feet, and the scarf that he had been crocheting was stashed under the bed, hooks neatly folded on top. The human now standing in his doorway was unassuming. Average height, in a relaxed stance, features concealed by a hood. I thought I'd covered my tracks well, said David. Traveled under a false name, paid the innkeeper to keep my location a secret, even managed to slip my lightsaber through interstellar customs by hiding it in a spring-loaded can of novelty peanuts. How did you find me? There's no hiding from the Force, said the hooded man, activating his lightsaber, and there will be no running from your fate. I know that you've been raised in captivity by Darth Vader to be his ultimate killing machine, and you're supposed to be some sort of crazy savant when it comes to Force sensitivity, and so you may not be aware because you probably don't get out much, but you know you're holding that thing backwards, right? Starkiller glanced down at his lightsaber. David's distraction had worked. Sitting on a counter in the hotel room's small kitchenette, a spring-loaded can of peanuts vibrated furiously, and then David's lightsaber erupted forth from it and sailed across the room into his hand with all the speed and fury of a coiled vinyl snake. The hooded figure dashed towards him, lightning fast. David pressed his thumb down on the power switch, but nothing happened. His lightsaber didn't activate. David then looked down at the floor and saw his severed hand, clutching his still dormant lightsaber. It was the last thing he ever saw. Moments later, Starkiller returned to the rogue shadow, holding a new lightsaber for Lord Vader and a brand new crocheted scarf for Proxy.
Aww.
On the other side of the galaxy, Revan awoke in a strange white room on a strange white operating table, and the strangest thing of all was the last time they checked, Revan was dead. Could this be heaven, they thought? The door to the room opened, and a large, imposing alien entered. "It's worked," he said. "Revan, Misa so smiling to see you." Oh no, thought Revan, this isn't heaven at all. "Who are you?" asked Revan. "Misa Jar Jar Binks, Misa your humble servant." "How did you revive me?" "Oh, Misa used the combined power of a Jedi holocron and a Sith holocron arranged in these here fractal array of kyber crystals placed around a vial containing a sample of your DNA, then using a muy big tube of almost pure metachlorians." "You know what?" said Revan. "I don't need to know." "Why have you revived me? Wait, don't tell me. Your voice is really annoying, and besides, I'm getting a vision. Starkiller. He needs to be stopped. How do I get to him?" "Well, he's probably coming here to do terrible things to you. In order to revive you, I had to steal a Jedi holocron, a Sith holocron, this here fractal array of kyber crystals, vial containing your DNA, and a muy big tube of almost pure metachlorians." "And the Empire has noticed that these things have gone missing, and so he's on his way here. I should take what time I have to learn this battlefield. What is this place? Are we on a ship?" "Medical wing of an old derelict star destroyer in deep space. Heavily damaged, but still has backup power. Lots of winding tunnels and big pieces of machinery. Has catwalks over endless abysses. Okie day?" "This will do nicely. One last question, Jar Jar. Why are you helping me?" "Well, Misa may have been the Senator who decided it would be a good idea to grant bombad war powers to Chancellor Palpatine, and that's maybe why Wee's in this mess in the first place." So you're saying that you're indirectly responsible for the deaths of thousands of Jedi and the rise of an intergalactic fascist empire that has stripped the rights away from hundreds of star systems? So does literally everyone in the galaxy hate you now? Yusa might be saying that. It is a dark time for the rebellion. It was bad enough when the Emperor executed Order 66 and wiped out like 99% of the galaxy's Jedi, but now it's looking like the last few Jedi who managed to escape may have their days numbered as well, because a mysterious Sith apprentice, born Galen Marek, but better known as Starkiller, has been systematically killing them off at an alarming pace. However, now that he's had some time out in the galaxy, things might be starting to change a little for him. Is his hard heart finally starting to melt? Is there still some good in him? That remains to be seen. Now revived from death to oppose him is an ancient former Sith Lord who suffered a bout of amnesia and joined the light side for a while. Did they eventually return to their former evil ways? Are they a man or a woman? Did they ever become a master of swoop bike racing? The answers to all of these questions have been lost in the many centuries since the days of the Old Republic. And these are not the questions that we're here to answer today. The Last Jedi is hitting theaters soon, and just like how we celebrated The Force Awakens with a Who is the Greatest Evil Jedi battle, in this middle chapter, the Empire Strikes Back of Smash Fiction episodes, when everything appears gray and uncertain, today we are answering the question, who is the greatest gray Jedi? I am far too morally gray to ever pick a side, instead opting to stay in the middle and play my enemies against each other, and that is why I, Claire Mulcairn, will be your judge this week. Representing Team Starkiller are Dan Mulcairn.
So be it, dead guy.
And Megan Bob.
You're not my real space dad.
Representing Team Revan are Kit Mulcairn.
I am bullshit reborn, and before me, facts are nothing.
And Neil Butler.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain bullshit. Through bullshit I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken. The Force shall free me.
Nice.
Woo! Roll Tide!
The dark side version, I like it.
Roll Tide.
That felt appropriate. Don't ask.
I mean, you're not wrong. I just never thought I would hear, like...
I knew some Alabamans. That's all you need to know. It's just, you have to know Alabamans for like 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you'll just totally say that all the time.
Roll side, comma dark.
Oh, very good.
Oh, that was
right.
masterful.
In order to see who's going first this week, the advocates had to settle their differences with a game of Pazak. Team Revan used their Force-sensitive powers to sense a big +6 card on top of their deck and flipped it over to get a perfect score of 21. Moments later, Team Starkiller reminded them that in Blackjack you're trying to hit 21, but in Pazak you're trying to hit 20. For using their Force-sensitive powers to cheat, and for forgetting the rules of Pazak, Team Revan will be going second this week, and going first will be Team Starkiller. Team Starkiller, unleash your opening arguments.
You know how the Jedi Council has this whole thing where they don't let their members fall in love and marry? There's a few reasons why this might be. Strong emotions can lead to the dark side, for one thing. But one other explanation might be because when two Jedi make babies, the results can get a little, shall we say, Mary Sue-ish. Galen Marek, also known as Starkiller, was the result of one such taboo union, or taboonion. And this power was such
That's one of the planets in Star Wars, right?
Absolutely. And his power was such that when Galen was still a toddler and Darth Vader came to kill Galen's Jedi father, Vader sensed Galen's presence nearby and mistakenly thought that he was sensing the Jedi's master. How strong in the Force is Galen Marek? Oh boy, let me count the ways. Starkiller's telekinesis is precise enough to assemble a lightsaber with his eyes literally closed, fast enough to jam an opponent's weapon mid-flight, and powerful enough to pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky. He can catch TIE fighters in mid-flight with telekinesis, throw his lightsaber to hit multiple enemies, and redirect missiles. There are moments where Starkiller telekinetically grabs an AT-ST, crushes it, and then uses the wreckage as a weapon. He is the only known practitioner of the so-called Sith Seeker technique, where he would combine Force Push and Force Lightning in an incredibly destructive display. And he's even capable of absorbing natural, non-Force Lightning, and then combining it with his own Force Lightning into a blow powerful enough to one-shot Darth Vader. He's also a freaking master of the mind trick. Not only can he do the typical gimmicks with it, like suggestion and evading notice, Starkiller can straight up mind control people. Often multiple people at the same time, and can convince them to attack their allies or just kill themselves. The crazy thing about it is, after his mind control ends, his targets just explode. I don't get it either, and I'm pretty sure no one in Star Wars does for that matter, but that's how it goes. Darth Sidious himself stated that Starkiller was very capable of defeating even him, putting Starkiller at perhaps the most powerful Force user of his time period. With these skills, Starkiller helped Vader to take out a number of experienced fugitive Jedi in the years after Order 66. Starkiller beat and blinded Jedi Master Rom Koda, a military genius and legend. During this fight, Koda throws everything at this kid in an effort to take him down. Nothing does. Telekinetic shoves and throws fail. Unpredictable lightsaber attacks, alternating slow and deliberate strikes with sudden and quick strikes, fail. Tearing the room they're fighting in off of the space station it's attached to and sending it hurtling to the planet below fails. All that results is that Koda becomes tired long before Starkiller does. Starkiller beat Kazdan Paratus, a Jedi Master who utilized a lightsaber pike, multiple robotic limbs, and the ability to mentally control an army of droids, all of which he sent after Starkiller. These droids were programmed with the fighting skills of Jedi Masters. I'll be the first to acknowledge that these droids were likely not quite as skilled as the Jedi they resembled, but they weren't that far off, and they attacked Starkiller all at once, and he defeated all of them while still fighting Paratus. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the Jedi that these droids were programmed with included Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Yoda. Starkiller took out Jedi Master Shaak Ti, who Obi-Wan himself described as the most cunning Jedi he'd ever met. During their fight, Shaak Ti directed the forces of nature itself, up to and including controlling a freaking Mega Sarlacc to attack Starkiller. It wasn't enough. Not even close. The fight that Starkiller has with Vader at the end of the first Force Unleashed game is genuinely shocking. He goads Vader into attacking and overextending himself before pummeling him with a combination of lightning, telekinesis, and lightsabers. When he beats Vader, it's a completely unambiguous victory. Not a narrow win where he would have died if Vader hadn't paused to gloat or something like that. It was purely on his skill, intuition, and power. And then he fights Darth Sidious. During this fight, Starkiller is able to deflect and absorb the Emperor's Force Lightning. You might remember that the only other person who was ever able to do this to the Emperor was a certain Jedi by the name of Yoda. Starkiller objectively beats Sidious in this fight. By the end of their battle, Sidious has been disarmed and is on his knees doing the whole "destroy me now, it is your destiny" shtick. Sidious only escapes and manages to kill Starkiller because he then attacks the group of rebels that Starkiller had come to protect, and even so, Starkiller still manages to reflect Force Lightning back into Sidious. One of the big differences between Knights of the Old Republic and Force Unleashed is that you run around with a party of buds in KOTOR. This means that all the cool stuff you see Revan do in that game, he does with the help and support of his friends. Which is great for, his happiness index or whatever, but it means that he's significantly less capable on his own. Those times in KOTOR when he has to run around by himself are noticeably tougher and require a much greater degree of patience and proficiency, and all it takes is one strong enemy that doesn't let up to take him out. In the end, this whole scenario plays to Galen Marek's key strengths. Finding a Jedi who is ostensibly more experienced and traditional, adapting to whatever weird strategy they come up with, and overwhelming them with power, skill, intuition, and just plain stubbornness. The Force is with you, Revan, but you are not a Smash Fiction winner yet.
Darth Vader is not an ideal father. But if he were the kind of father to keep a scrapbook of his adopted son's greatest achievements, he'd be struggling to find room for it all. Aw, remember when Darth Vader came to forcibly adopt little Starkiller and sensed his power so clearly that he thought Starkiller was a master using the Force at the age of 2? That's definitely going in the Christmas letter. That's how Galen, Starkiller, and Marek...
I'm sorry. Forcibly adopt is a great way of saying kidnapping.
I mean, look, this is a gray Jedi battle. Gray Jedi words, I guess.
Also, forcibly is always capitalized. Because it's Star Wars.
Forcibly adopted.
I think it was an adoption from a certain point of view.
Yeah. That's how Galen Starkiller Marek begins his training as a Jith, said I. You may be surprised to learn that Vader is not a tender and patient teacher. Starkiller's training didn't take place at a Jedi enclave like Revan. Revan had masters that were supportive and not trying to push them until they shattered. You have to keep those Jedi in the enclave after all, so they can keep paying tuition and taking out space student loans. Starkiller was homeschooled, and Vader started his little baby off with the basics of lightsaber use before throwing him straight into sparring. Is that cruel? Yes. But it forced Starkiller to devise unique ways of dueling that will be unrecognizable to Revan, who was formally trained. Revan has mastered lightsaber forms Shi-Cho, Makashi, Sorasu, and Trakata. Starkiller is familiar with all 7 forms and able to identify them easily. More importantly, the Enclave doesn't make students practice against deadly force all the time. Yet another failing of public schools. Vader made sure that when Starkiller wasn't sparring with him, he had Proxy the Holodroid fight him with lethal force. Not only was Proxy programmed to try and kill him, but he used multiple different styles attacking as Jango Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin Skywalker, Shakti, and Ram Kota. That's pretty great in terms of variety, but can robots use the Force? No. They use something much harder to deflect. Science!
I'm listening.
Proxy replicates force moves through repulsors and tractor beams throughout his body, allowing him to do all the force shoving, pulling, and lightsaber throws that go with fighting force users. Revan was trained to be a Jedi Knight, a keeper of the peace, and a military leader. Starkiller was trained for the purposes of being a personal assassin doing cleanup after Order 66. That's right, he was sent to kill the Jedi that were too crafty and skillful to be taken down the first time. Not that Starkiller minds a difficult challenge. He makes Proxy chain him up in the dark and refuse to give him food until he can assemble a lightsaber with telekinesis alone. Starkiller's ability to withstand brutality and relentless attacks is unparalleled. Not only does he go through terrifying training from childhood onward and instigate punishing trials to make himself better, Proxy sometimes just pulls a Kato and attacks Starkiller when he's not in training, like when he just is walking into the hangar. Despite Starkiller being taken totally off guard by the Obi-Wan program that he hadn't practiced against in ages, he stabs Proxy through the chest. He's perfectly willing to do what it takes to win in every scenario. He steps into the full wave of Palpatine's Force lightning, which is unpleasant, like a star burning inside a human body. Even in that pain, he has the presence of mind to take that pain and pour it back into Palpatine. Because fuck you, Sheev! That's not even a name! Sheer unpredictability will be Revan's biggest stumbling block. Starkiller has levels of power that make him able to do things that no one else would think of doing. Memories for the old scrapbook include how he telekinetically pulled Vader's lightsaber from his hand when he was a tiny child. The time he explodes a Bull Rancor's mind with a telekinetic burst. He pinwheels his lightsaber to deflect multiple AT-AT attacks and a cannon at the same time. He force stops Shakti's lightsaber before it touches him. Starkiller uses weapons, certainly, but the weapon he spent the most time honing is his unlimited capacity to turn his environment into a weapon. He brings down ceilings on Drexel and later on Erodian. He rips through walls. He force shoves large objects. He crashes enormous vehicles into one another. He uses his force powers to blast a whole bunch of droids. And then he blasts the debris after them, which I'm just going to quote verbatim. He kept pushing until a dark cloud soared over Raxus Prime's hideous landscape, an artificial hurricane full of droid golems. Starkiller can make his own natural disasters. Revan can use multiple lightsabers, which is impressive. Starkiller can also dual-wield lightsabers, even against new attacks, like when Proxy suddenly pulls out his Darth Maul combat mode. Definitely some good family photos of Proxy getting double impaled at the end of that fight. Revan has the ability to wield lightsabers that aren't even in his hands, but for Starkiller, who dodges and blocks lightsaber attacks and all manner of other attacks before throwing an AT-AT chunk at you, the number of lightsabers in play is immaterial. Truly, the crowning achievement on little Starkiller's report card is being so unpredictable and powerful that he beats Vader, the person who oversaw and personally handled his training. Darth Vader is not an easy person to beat, and when he's seen you fight and trained you personally, he should know every trick in your book. And yet, Starkiller wipes the floor with the person who he shouldn't be able to surprise. When you can successfully kick the ass of your adoptive father, one of the greatest Force users of all time, I think you've proved your combat chops. Vader wouldn't put a bumper sticker on the Death Star, but if he did, it would say, "My honors student beat me up, and I've never been so proud."
Aww. Of Galen and Proxy, which one's the dom, which one's the sub, or do they switch?
I mean, I feel like, oh god, we could talk about this, but it will be a very long episode.
We know that Proxy is a switch. Come on. I mean, there's
True.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's a good point.
All right, are we done?
Yes.
You're the one who
Please
controls
let
this.
this be done.
Team Revan, do you have BioWare face, or are you just neither happy nor sad to see me?
Having lived for about 10 times as long as their opponent, Revan has a wealth of experience to draw upon against Starkiller. Revan trained under some of the wisest and most powerful Jedi Masters of the time, Kreia, Dora, Lestin, and Kay. Revan also learned some of the most powerful Sith techniques from holocrons and other sources in the old Sith Academy on Korriban and the Treyas Academy on Malachor V. Thus, Revan's mastery of light side powers such as Force Push, Force Speed, and Force Healing, as well as dark side powers such as Force Strain, Force Lightning Storm, and Force Choke. As a Jedi, Revan was recognized as being both powerful and extremely charismatic. They were able to persuade many of their Jedi colleagues to rebel against the Council and fight in the Mandalorian War, and they were able to convince the Sith Lord Scourge to join them in opposing Sith Emperor Vitiate. Revan was also revered by the dark side. Darth Bane's discovery of Revan's holocrons led to the current practice of only 2 Sith, Master and Apprentice, being allowed at a given time. In combat, not only could Revan draw on their force powers, but also multiple fighting styles. Revan was a master of all 7 lightsaber forms, and showed themselves to be equally adept with a single or double-bladed lightsaber, or dual-wielding lightsabers. On Taris, before getting a chance to build a new lightsaber, Revan also displayed mastery of conventional melee weapons, such as vibroblades or force pikes, as well as ranged weapons, using blaster pistols to win the Taris Dueling Championship and defeat Bendak Starkiller. That name sounds familiar. Revan was also a master tactician and strategist, and was hailed by the defeated Mandalorians as the greatest warriors they had ever faced, as well as being awarded the Cross of Honor by the Republic after defeating Malak and destroying the Starforge. Revan was equally at home leading an army on the battlefield, directing a fleet from a flagship, or dueling against an enemy mano-a-mano. Among his fallen adversaries are Mandalore the Ultimate, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Malak, all of whom Revan defeated in single combat. Revan also cut their way through swaths of Dark Jedi, Sith Assassins, Rancors, Mandalorians, as well as several Tarantecs, beasts that are immune to the effects of the Force and were bred specifically to hunt down and kill Jedi. More so than Malak, Mandalore the Ultimate, or anyone else, Revan's greatest nemesis was the Sith Emperor Vitiate, a survivor of the Great Hyperspace War, who became functionally immortal after tricking his fellow Sith survivors into a ritual that allowed him to absorb their life force. Vitiate was the most powerful Sith, and likely the most powerful of all Force users of his era. And yet, although he defeated Revan several times, Revan always survived. Indeed, Revan was able to channel pure Force energy, both light and dark sides, against Vitiate, as well as being able to survive Vitiate's Force Storm and use their Force healing to get back up and rejoin the fight. Although Revan was captured by the Emperor and placed in a special prison that allowed Vitiate to draw on Revan's power, Revan was still able to mentally influence him, thus preventing the Emperor from conquering the galaxy. To sum up, Revan was a superlative warrior, a master of many forms of combat with an unparalleled mastery of powers from both sides of the Force. As a master tactician, whose teachings influenced even the Sith and Jedi of Starkiller's time, they will not rest until Galen Marek is defeated once and for all. So swears Doom! Revan!
You picked the wrong time for that one.
Even without Miles and Liz, still must I face this.
Yes. We are haunted by Doom's Force Ghost everywhere we go.
Let's start with the most relevant, important fact about Galen Marek. He looks like a basic bitch. He's supposed to be from the future past, but he looks like a time traveler from 2008. He looks like I could Photoshop him into a Limp Bizkit album cover, and it would take you a good minute to notice. And you'd only notice because he'd be holding his mic backward.
That's how you know he's a professional.
Revan, on the other hand, looks like a fucking mystical power to be reckoned with, regardless of whether that mystical power is good or evil or the perfect blend of both. And you know when that mask comes off, regardless of Revan's gender, all the panties and boxers go and drop. 10 points to Ravenclaw. This is supposed to be a battle between 2 incredibly powerful Grey Jedi, right? Revan's been at the game for centuries. As Neil made quite clear, Revan is a grown-ass adult with grown-ass experiences. Revan fought in Space Nom. Revan probably paid a lot of space taxes. What has Galen Marek done in his 17 years or so of life? Definitely not had a ton of experience with using both sides of the Force. Yes, this space teen has amazing potential, and that potential was wasted by having him focus way too hard on only one side of the Force. It was only toward the end of Galen's sad story that he caught feelings for a Miss Juno eclipse and realized that the dark side is filled with nothing but backstabbing danglebags. Is Galen good at what he do? Sure. Is he anywhere near as good at basically all the things like Revan? Nah. 10 points from Galendor.
Oh.
Okay, I'll be nicer. Let's look at some of this Force Teen's victories against formidable Jedi Knights. Just playing. By Galen's own admission, he said he was lucky when he beat Shakti, and the only reason he beat Ram Kota was because Kota got distracted by poorly timed vision. Stupid divination. After the fight with Kota, Darth Vader was like, and I quote, "Child, you unfocused and easily distracted. Get good." And actual Vader quote. Darth Asthmatic Helmet had a very good point, though, because one of Galen's most used lightsaber styles is Juyo. This style allows the user to press the advantage once they think they've got the upper hand, but this ain't no cat Juyo, because it leaves the user open and really pulls Galen's focus from his surroundings, leaving Revan to telekinetically attack this child from unseen angles. Galen's gonna get a lightsaber enema if he don't watch himself.
Oh.
Some of Space Teen's other favorite tricks are Force Throw Shit, which is easily deflectable by someone as skilled as Revan, and Force Lightning, which Revan has been shown able to absorb and redirect to insta-fatal levels, to we can't identify the body levels, to, well, I guess just sweep him into an urn levels. And I know, this kid has taken so much punishment that he somehow, through sheer will, become more cockroach than human. But cockroaches still die. Just ask my lizards. Galen's voice has barely finished cracking, and now he's got to take on one of the strongest, most experienced light and dark side force users in the galaxy, who has also mastered every single lightsaber form. Honey, even if the force is with you, it's still thinking about me.
Whoa.
Love it.
Wow, drop the lightsaber.
Oh my god. This is like the feistiest I don't think I've ever seen you feist so hard.
That was very good. By this point in time, I assume that the fight is on some sort of catwalk or like in a hallway with a bunch of force field doors that are opening and closing for like no reason. So it's time for rebuttals. Team Starkiller, by the force I summon you.
Oh, that is a terrific reference.
Wait,
I
what's
made that joke in the last episode and Miles cut it, so I had to make it now, the last time we did it.
Miles.
Wait, what's it a reference to?
I think maybe by the force I summoned thee. I learned it from Star Wars Minute. It was like the first draft of Empire Strikes Back. Luke did a thing where he summoned his father's force ghost to speak to him, and he said, "By the force I summoned thee."
Yeah, he
and
like holds his lightsaber above his head, all He-Man style.
Right. And,
Oh.
and this was in a draft where his father was not Darth Vader, and it was just Anakin Skywalker, who was a different person. It's
Wow.
bananas.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, my friends call me Annie.
Oh my god.
Sand is great, isn't it?
I want to real quick point out, both Neil and Kit pointed out the fact that Revan's lifespan was, I think Neil said, over 10 times as long as Starkiller's. Dude, 300 years of that was when Revan was in stasis being held captive by Emperor Vitiate, who he lost 2 fights against because he went in totally overconfident and underprepared. I don't think that counts toward experience.
How old is he still, though? And what all did he do?
I mean,
besides
Revan's probably
take on Vitiate?
Revan's probably like in maybe his 30s or 40s by the time he gets thrown
Well-
into stasis.
No, he was made a Jedi Knight at 30.
Okay, well,
So he was 30 before the
now
Mandalorian
he's
Wars
40.
ever started.
he certainly looks younger than Ram Kota and Darth Sidious, both of whom Galen
that's
also
the dark
took out.
side, ain't it, though?
I mean, I'm just gonna say, I bet whenever he gets up in the morning, he goes, whenever he gets out of bed, because he's an old man now. You were making a lot of, much hay about the fact that he has all that experience and that he has a lot of formal training. That is super great. However,
It is.
the training that he receives is intended to be sustainable and sane and, reasonable for a human.
Well,
That's-
Jedi use green energy,
Oh, yeah, they do. They're very
especially
they
for
recycle.
lightsabers.
But,
Depends on what
that's
discipline
very
you go with.
different than being programmed to be a crazy murder baby from the beginning and just always training forever. There's something to be said for quality of training.
Yeah, that's some pretty shit training. That's like psychologically fucks you up training.
Yeah, psychologically fucks you up to be a great murderer.
And yet, caught feelings.
He's not gonna have feelings for Revan.
And yet yours was caught in a fucking stasis. Let's not talk
somebody-
about who got caught.
Oh, because
Did
Galen wouldn't
somebody
have
call
fallen
for a
that.
murder baby? Meatbags? Because, when Revan needed a murder baby, he just built HK-47.
Compliment. Sick comeback. Anyway, I just want to point out, Revan's feat barely even leave the ground during the entirety of Knights of the Old Republic. Like, if you make him a Jedi Guardian, then he'll gain the ability to jump at an enemy. But that's it. Like, he's not anywhere as close to as acrobatic and evasive and nimble as Starkiller is. It's gonna be like that fight where Yoda fights Dooku. Like, that's what it's gonna look like.
Or, the fight where Vader chops Luke's hand off.
Yeah, you don't need to be a little kitty cat with your little kitty cat Juyo. Like, that in itself isn't going to keep you alive if you make the wrong move and Revan's like, oh, see you coming flying. Oh, slice. Okay, bye.
He stops other people's stuff from hitting him, though. Like, that's not a problem. You could try, certainly.
Oh, I'll put your fucking courage to the test. That's for damn sure.
I'll just force hug you.
Deflect.
Oh, denied. Oh, so sad. You talked about Revan's ability to sort of influence vitiate and stuff. That's cool, but it also presumes kind of a non-irrevocably fucked up human mind. I think it presumes that you haven't been gaslit since the age of 2.
I'm not saying that he'd be able to influence Marek. I'm just saying during that 300 years, he wasn't just sitting there. He was actively preventing the greatest Sith Lord ever from taking over the galaxy.
I mean, it's good to have hobbies.
Yeah.
I guess if your hobby is saving the universe.
So all of the enemies that Revan fights in the course of, the various video games and stuff that he's in, they all draw their power from the same character creator that he's in, so he never runs into a power that's unfamiliar to him or is really unusual. It's always like Force Push and Force Lightning and Force Drain and whatever. But like, the stuff that Starkiller runs into, you never see Revan going up against anyone who mind controls a Sarlacc into attacking him. He never goes up against someone who tears the room apart around him. These are all things that Starkiller has to go up against. Going up against someone like Revan, he's just like, oh, this is just a completely plain bread and butter Jedi with totally boring powers.
The mayonnaise sandwich of Jedi.
Yes.
All right.
I don't know. I'd argue that Revan is at least toast.
Well, everything is toast, apparently.
With maybe a little bit of chicken jerky on the side.
Oh, God. No, you can't.
Well, certainly one of you
is
is going to be toast by the end of this match.
No, Galen's gonna be ash. That goes beyond toast.
But apparently it's still toast, according to Miles.
You're right, it's molecular toasts.
Yeah,
Tiny
it's
toast.
molecular gastronomy.
Team Revan, methinks your opposition, Darth, protest too much.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
All right, first of all, you phrase your fucking openers like Galen can't be killed in Force Unleashed. Whatever, no, he's definitely killable if you fuck up.
Well, so is Revan in Knights of the Old Republic.
I'm just pointing out, you're like, oh, if he's by himself, the game is so hard, and so your game is just not hard at all.
I mean, all I'm saying is that, like, Ram Koda tears the room that Starkiller is in off of the space station and sends it down to the planet below, and Starkiller is still fighting as he's plummeting from orbit. Like, it takes a lot to put this dude down.
Like, maybe getting your lightning absorbed and then redirecting it so that you turn into a little pile of cinder.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Revan's ability to do that only stretches so far. Like, he does it to that one random Sith lady, but like, when he tries to absorb Emperor Vitiate's lightning attacks, it actually overwhelms his absorption and melts his mask to his face, Doctor Doom style.
So are you trying to say that Galen is Vitiate level?
I'm saying he's stronger than Revan for sure.
Bullshit. That's what we're trying to find out. That's what we're trying to convince Claire, isn't it?
I would argue that Vitiate is not only stronger than Revan, but also stronger than Starkiller and stronger than Sidious. He's an actual purebred Sith who's absorbed a bunch of other Sith and lived for 1,000 years. I mean, how is he not going to be the most fucking powerful Sith in the universe?
Because he still gets taken out by some random-ass Jedi in the Old Republic MMO. Like, the hero of Tython is just a regular dude with no, like, tragic backstory or impressive parentage to point to, and he just walks up to the dude and lightsabers him to death.
Two of your major Starkiller points are actually like things he failed to do. He didn't pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky.
That is correct.
The Star Destroyer was already falling into the planet, and he kind of delayed it slightly and then jumped out of the way at the last minute.
He nudged it. He was like,
Is this like
I can't
Mr.
do it,
Furious
bro.
lifting the bus?
It's right.
Basically, he watch that scene. He ain't do.
I mean-
you make it sound like he throwing Star Destroyers left and right while doing Sudoku. He shit himself a little bit in that scene. I knew. I could tell. He was
He
training
definitely
so
prairie
hard.
dogged.
It's part of his technique.
Space prairie dog, sorry.
Oh god, yeah, that's true. They don't have heat cord.
Wait, what are the names of the worms that come out of the asteroids?
Oh,
The Exogorth?
Yeah, you don't want those.
God.
That's not
so
as easy to
gross.
say.
I mean, okay, fine. He moved it, which I mean, let's see Revan do that, but he does all kinds of crazy force shit constantly. That's his thing. He's like, oh, you know what? I would be nice if this entire side of the room was over there. Rip.
I mean, that'd be great if this were a contest of, like, interior decorators. But it's not.
I mean,
My second point, if someone would let me speak, you hark on about him being able to telekinetically build a lightsaber in the dark, but he failed at that as well.
I mean, initially, and then later he was able to, because we see him do it in the game when he's just hanging out on his ship and his lightsaber parts are putting themselves together in front of him.
see, he doesn't fucking give up.
Dan, you were talking shit about
I have been known to do that from time to
KOTOR
time.
Yeah, you were talking shit about how difficult it was when Revan is doing his solo stuff in KOTOR. I mean, seriously, I don't know about you, but I didn't think it was that difficult. It was pretty
wow.
easy. Running through the Starforge, killing shit.
At some point,
no.
every time in a video game match, this argument does come up. I'll point
yes,
out. I
that
don't
Dan sucks at
Was
video
like,
games.
I was using you gave me the shitty controller, Neil.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't expect this to get so personal.
This isn't personal. This is science.
Galen knows of all the saber forms, but he primarily uses the three. It's nice that you, know of the other ones, I guess. But like we said, Revan has mastered them. He's like a super munchkin-y bard in 3.5 D&D, if you get what I'm saying. They're both Mary Sues, but Revan has been a Mary Sue longer.
Yeah, but the thing...
Level 20 Mary Sue.
The thing you're missing about Galen's
wow.
fighting style is that, he's a very intuitive fighter, because he's able to take out Jedi and Sith alike. He slips in between different lightsaber forms quickly, and also he'll be in the middle of a lightsaber combo and then do a force move, in between lightsaber strikes. It got to the point where when he was fighting Ram Koda said that he had no idea what style he was using. He could not possibly identify it because Starkiller fights in such an unconventional manner.
Well, you know who's gonna know what he's doing is Revan, because he knows all the fucking styles.
also
like the back of his fucking hand.
He's perfectly fine going into a defensive Sorasu, I think is the defensive one, or
Yes.
it's more defensive.
No, you got it right.
Yeah, going into that one and then just waiting until his opponent is tired. He does that a couple of times, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before old man Revan gets tired and needs some prune juice.
Yeah, I
Old
mean...
man slash
Revan.
woman Revan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Old person
Revan spent
Revan.
300 years being tormented constantly. He's not going to get tired anytime soon.
Oh, they're not going to get tired anytime soon.
Sorry.
You guys
they're
have been
not
doing
gonna
it
get
all
tired
match. I just
anytime
whatever.
soon.
It's fine.
That's okay,
I know, but
I've
you're-
exclusively
thank you
been
for-
using he, so...
If you want to talk about Mary Sue's, Revan's the ultimate Mary Sue because they don't even have a gender. They wear a mask.
Or it's their king.
They're whatever you want it to be.
Well, everyone, it's been 2 years since I last made this joke, so I'm going to assume that everyone has forgotten it and I can make it again. It's the Force Lightning Round.
Has it really been 2 years?
Father, please!
All right, so the fight has moved into the hangar of the Star Destroyer, and Starkiller and Revan are both getting pretty tired, both have some glancing lightsaber burns on their body, and they've resorted at this point to throwing TIE fighters at each other. At which point in time, the blast doors of the room shut, and vents open on the floor, and a deadly green gas leaks into the room. Starkiller and Revan try to flee the room, and they try to cover their mouths, but it's no use. Within just a few minutes, they're overtaken, and they collapse to the ground.
It's cool, my mask is fused to my face. Good.
It blocks smoke, but not toxins? Isn't that a thing?
Yep, accurate.
What?
Makes no sense, whatever. Watching them on a monitor from a distant control room is a mysterious shadowy figure who says to himself, well, dat smells stink-a-whiff.
Oh no.
You're
Y'all
doing the
remembered.
same plot twist, even.
I know, and you didn't see it coming again. He gets you every time. Revan and Starkiller are both dead.
Well, again, I guess.
But they find themselves awakening as Force ghosts in Jedi Purgatory. For you see, when a Force user dies, if they're more aligned with the light side of the Force, they can move on to one afterlife. And if they're more aligned with the dark side of the Force, they move on to a different afterlife. But if they're somewhat in between, then they shall remain in Purgatory until they either take an action which symbolically aligns them with the light side or the dark side. And in this case, the form that the Jedi Purgatory has taken for them is a high school winter formal dance.
The worst purgatory.
And in this strange dreamlike place, which Revan and Starkiller are now starting to suspect might just be one last hallucination that they're experiencing as the deadly neurotoxin eats away at their brains, each one of them has accidentally shown up to the dance with 2 dates. One Force ghost from the light side and one Force ghost from the dark side.
Nice.
As studied practitioners of the gray side of the Force, Revan and Starkiller both know that if they ever show too much favor to one of their dates, that will forever bind them to one of the 2 afterlives. However, if they can bounce back and forth between the 2 dates over the course of the night without getting the other one suspicious, and if they can remain in purgatory until the ends of the dance / until the poisonous gas clears out of the room, then they will have a chance to return to their body and come back to life. So, which gray Jedi is the best at being non-committal?
What?
Which light side Force user and which dark side Force user from any point in Star Wars history are your 2 dates? How do you charm your dates and keep them in a good mood? What techniques do you employ to bounce back and forth between your 2 dates over the course of the evening? If your 2 dates ever run into one another, how do you introduce them to one another? And what do you do to keep the conversation off of uncomfortable topics? So now, if you don't mind, I think we're going to snake draft this, and you're all going to pick some Jedi. Team Revan, who is your first pick?
First pick, our dark side, is going to be the beautiful, delightful Darth Malak in an absolutely jaw-dropping dress and a beautiful corsage.
Nice.
Was
Really
that jaw-dropping a pun?
Yes, absolutely. I've been waiting for an opportunity to use that.
Well done.
All right, so we're going to snake things over to Team Starkiller. Who are your 2 picks?
Our dark side date is going to be Asajj Ventress from the
shit.
Clone Wars.
You're gonna die.
That's a good name. I like that word.
It sure is. And then I've been thinking about our light side pick. I think I'm going to go with Mira from Knights of the Old Republic 2 because she was the one female character in your party that you couldn't have a relationship with in that game. And so this is Starkiller's way of spitting even more in Revan's face that he was able to secure
spite
this.
dating. Jeez.
That's right.
I mean, that's the best reason
brutal.
to date someone, right?
Revan, who's your last pick?
Okay, if this is allowable, what about the cloned Starkiller? We dating you, motherfucker!
From The Force Unleashed 2, that's amazing. Go for it. Yep.
Pretty good.
Wow,
You
no
wanna
one picked
spite us?
anyone
Fuck
from the
you, we're
movies.
dating
You all
you.
picked expanded universe nonsense.
Yep.
I mean, my only options were from the movies, but I couldn't remember any of them.
This whole match is about expanded
That's
universe
fair. That's
nonsense.
fair. All right. So, Team Revan, how are you going to survive this night, and how are you going to adjust to the fact that the cinematography has switched to one distant camera accompanied by laugh track?
All right, so I think, Neil, you came up with a great way to keep both dates preoccupied, and that's Revan can split into 2.
Yeah. Revan can split into a light side ghost and a dark side ghost. So, I mean...
Perfectly catered to both sides.
Yeah.
We can do some very careful, hands on the waist, hands on the shoulders, leaving space for the Force ghosts in between us, kind of nice dancing, and then the dark side's just gonna be making out in the bathroom while smoking at the same time because it's so bad.
Smoking cloves. And then, of course, we can have that,
death sticks.
The two, smoking clove death sticks. the two Revans go to the bathroom, and Dark Revan comes out and runs into Malak. Chaos ensues! Or hilarity. Hilarity is probably more suited to this, actually. Hilarity ensues!
Oh god, both. The laugh tracks are just gonna be going wild on our end.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, lots of stroking Malak's jaw, saying, "Oh, you're so dreamy." Mitra Surik meant nothing to me.
And what do you do if your two dates meet each other?
I mean, it doesn't matter because they've each got a Revan.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Is it totally forfeiting the game to be like, oh, I never loved this person and kill clone Galen? Also, he's way too young for me, probably. I don't know how clones work.
Apparently, everyone's too young for you.
That's true. Revan can no longer be loved. Making out in the bathroom. That's all.
They're all souls that exist outside of time right now, so don't worry about it.
At the end, the two Revans will go off and, clone Galen will be attracted to Darth Malak because of his weird robot voice and say, "Oh, tie me up and call me daddy."
Oh,
no!
You're off the podcast.
Wait, no, Shirley, let me call you daddy.
Yes, sorry.
I don't like that at all.
Nope.
All right. Team Starkiller, I had a joke that I wrote for you, but I forgot it because I didn't actually write it down. I just thought of it, and then someone said a funny joke, and I forgot it. So I'm sorry. I don't have a joke.
No.
What's your thing?
Thank you for
Did you get Jedi mind tricked?
I got Jedi mind trick.
thank you for calling my joke funny, Claire.
I wasn't talking about your joke.
Oh, sick burn. So, first of all, obviously it's winter formal. So there's going to be, it's very well decorated. That's how you know you're at winter formal, is that there's a bunch of, oversized snowflakes. And then somebody made like a snowman out of batting and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a lot of sort of piñatas hanging from the ceiling. There's just a lot of that. So the environment rife with stuff to be distracting. He is wearing a tuxedo shirt because he's a bad boy, but he's also wearing a real tuxedo jacket over it because he's kind of classy.
Is he? I
how
think
dare
he's a
you.
basic bitch, is what I think.
Why would you look? I mean,
Galen
how dare
Starkiller
you.
Marek oozes class, madam.
He
know.
definitely oozes because he's a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, going with that as part of his classiness, whenever he was trying to disguise himself, he will use his environment. So they rent a lot of foliage for the, which is weird because it's the winter formal. I don't know why the fuck they did that. Come on, senior class, what are you thinking? But he's gonna duck and hide behind the foliage and then pick up a tree and then use the tree and sneak over. But also, whenever he's pretending to be the other version of himself, that version wears a Kangol hat. So it's unrecognizable, but it's a formal Kangol hat because it's black.
The thing about the Force Unleashed games is that you get a different costume or skin every time you beat a level. So he has a lot of wardrobe stuff to choose from. But the other thing is that you can get DLC and use cheat codes to turn yourself into a different character. So you can run around as Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul and Jar Jar Binks. So he's going to have disguises aplenty that he'll be able to choose from whenever he needs to, make a quick getaway or slip through the crowd unseen. It's going to make his maneuvering of this awkward situation a lot easier when he's able to do that.
Has Darth Vader given him enough allowance to purchase the DLC?
That's a good question. It is available through cheat codes.
Okay,
So maybe,
right.
that's pretty dark side. So
His outfits are really bad cosplay. Nailed it level cosplay.
It looks pretty realistic to me.
It's got duct tape and kind of adjacent looking items.
That's really in for the Empire this time of year, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan, you probably should have used those cheat codes when you were doing the solo bits in KOTOR.
Hey,
shit.
step off.
We're just trying to have a nice dance here, Neil.
Yeah, for shame. Why are you ruining my fanfic? Okay.
Continue, Megan.
I'm just distracting you all while I pour my hip flask into the punch bowl.
Galen's gonna get a bucket of blood dumped on him.
So he's also, part of his being charming and sort of his charm moves. So it's the 90s, so some close-up magic, some sort of your basic going, oh, I know what card that you have in your hand. Oh, it's my dad's credit card, which I stole from him, and now we can go buy a bunch of cool stuff. Also general mind reading. Oh, I think I know when your birthday is. Yeah, he could have asked a friend, but fuck that. He's gonna mind read it.
He's also going to be the life of the party because he's going to get on stage and use his years of experience in the band Limp Bizkit to entertain the crowd, and he will use his force telekinesis to actually make the party jump.
He's gonna
That's my boy.
entertain the crowd with Limp Bizkit music.
They're just gonna be like, look, he's holding his microphone upside down. That's
No,
incredible.
the 90s. You don't understand.
He'll
The
be
90s.
he'll be holding the microphone upside down so everyone will hear.
Which is better than Limp Bizkit. So there
Very
you go.
true.
Okay, he borrowed his dad's car as well. I mean, his dad's spaceship, and it's a fucking cool spaceship, and he's gonna like just have separately take them on tours of it, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's so cool! Look at all those buttons." And then one of them's gonna break like a butterfly clip in their hair, and he's gonna force repair it. Like he's gonna use his knowledge of the force because they break all the time. And then it's gonna be like, look, and hold it in the palm of his hand, and the light will catch it, and it'll have that like soft glow. And then she'll put her hand over it, and then just look at him and be like, "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever done."
Yeah, even you don't believe yourself.
Okay, are we good?
The other thing is, whenever he's sort of caught in the lie, beforehand he has seeded the crowd with a number of his own clones, because there's a whole bunch of them by the time Force Unleashed 2 comes out. So he's just going to play dumb and pretend that he's his own clone, and then slip away and no one's the wiser.
Can I just say that Galen probably did do it all for the Nookie?
Yeah.
And yet he did not get that Juno Eclipse Nookie.
All right, well, while y'all have your little breakdance battle out here on the Force Ghost,
We've got to save the rec center, guys.
on the Force Ghost winter formal dance floor, I'm gonna go be a wallflower against the wall and drink my punch that Neil spiked, and
You're welcome.
and see if I can come to a decision.
Bye.
So there's one of the interesting things that I find about Star Wars as a setting is that there's so many different areas to it and types of characters. You know, you have like the Jedi, and then you have droids and
The best.
bounty hunters and like pilots and soldiers and senators
Smugglers.
and random like
And Jar
riffraff
Jar.
and Jar Jar. And like
Space teddy bears on moons.
and it's like when you look at the Star Wars universe, you're kind of spoiled for like storytelling options or character options, you know, if you're playing like a role-playing game or writing a story about an original character. So like what areas of the Star Wars universe do you guys find the most fascinating, or like the
Droids.
ones that you're the most interested in
you
looking
serious?
at?
Droids.
It's
Droids.
droids?
Yes. You know what Star Wars has too much of? Wars. I don't give a fuck. I want to know,
Yeah.
like the droids. I was just talking to Dan about this earlier today. They are so fucking interesting because they are basically a servitor race that once they're like old enough, a lot like spirits in Shinto mythology, they become like intelligent and get like these their own like unique personalities, and then that can be ripped away from them by with reprogramming, and they're just
Or
like such
restraining
a
bolts.
yeah, they're just such a fucking fascinating, like, legit race. And then
I mean,
like they haven't like rebelled yet.
They can feel pain. If you remember on the pleasure
They can
barge
become-
in Return of the Jedi, there was that little box droid getting like branding irons
Yeah.
applied to its feet.
Yeah.
that was pretty.
Man,
it was
fuck
like-
you, Star Wars.
Yeah, the droids are the fucking best. They're like shit all over. So every time I see a droid kicking ass, I'm like, yes, fucking give it to them.
Specifically R2-D2.
Yes, R2-D2's the best.
We definitely need to have a droid battle on Smash Fiction at
Yes.
some point.
I just really like, especially in the original trilogy, this stuff, it's all future stuff, like spaceships and whatnot, but it's also like mostly really battered. Such as the,
Yes.
I mean, if you look in Mos Eisley, it's all these like land speeders that are floating around the place and droids and everything, but it's like, it's also run down. It's kind of unique. It was certainly unique, I think, among cinematic or televisual depictions of the future. It's not bright and shiny. It's got all these future conveniences, but it's run down. People don't just buy a new shiny land speeder every time the old one gets dusty. It's stuff that is actually used for work, you know? You buy a second-hand droid off a race of scavengers because you can't afford a new one. There's poverty, there's dirt, there's crap like that, even in this futuristic setting. That's something I really liked about it.
It's so rarely seen in any of them, but I think the thing I find most compelling is the races that largely don't have a big presence in the main fight. Kind of almost an anthropological thing. That's not what their culture's about, and they're kind of separatists to some degree, maybe because they're not as technologically advanced, maybe they're outcast, like sort of like maybe like a Quarian in Mass Effect, where they're kind of displaced, or the people who are kind of agrarian and rural. I just find that stuff, because like, aren't the Bothans like farmers or something? Like,
well, the Bothans are universally spies, apparently.
I just am really interested in the ones who don't do all the technology stuff and don't go, you know what I'm going to do? Get off this planet. They're like, well, no, this is actually the planet that I live on and I'm fine with that. It's like a thing that would happen in the background is that you'd see like, oh, the camera would like pan over this part of like maybe a village or something. And you're like, wait a minute, there are people there. I want to know what they're up to.
Oh, I see. So you're interested in the lives of the background characters in Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm here, by the way. I've been here for quite a while. I just like listening to you guys.
Bothan!
I sensed your presence.
So, this match. Of course, you guys both did really awesome. These are both, complete crazy Mary Sue characters. What I basically settled on when I was listening to you guys is it sounds like Starkiller is the one who's the sort of more powerful at his best, but also more unpredictable, less skilled, probably more emotional, more easily manipulatable, that kind of thing. And Revan is the sort of more kind of medium at everything, like solid, and just knows everything really well, probably fights more conventionally, but also is less likely to make crazy rash decisions or get caught off guard. And so I think that the question for me then is like, we have the experienced one, the one who has all the training, and then we have the sort of the natural prodigy one. And I think in this specific case, the thing I'm going to end up on is with Starkiller, there were so many crazy things that Starkiller has done. I have all these images in my mind from the way that the arguments were being put out by Team Starkiller of like, all of the dumb shit that Starkiller does. And on Revan's side, I'm just kind of picturing people doing that like lame BioWare fighting. And I'm sorry to say it, it's probably just because like Force Unleashed is this crazy over the top, very cinematic action game. And Knights of the Old Republic is this very like slow, tactical sort of RPG, but I think Starkiller just, at his best, he's just so much crazier, and he has so many more stupid things that he can do that Revan's not going to see coming. Like, I think I have to give it to Starkiller.
Yes.
Are you proud of yourself, Dan?
I'm mainly proud because I got revenge on Neil, but...
Wow.
But
so, yes,
you did this to one of your favorite characters ever.
I know.
That's how you turn to the dark side.
I will state that now, the good thing is now Starkiller is going to wake up on the floor of that hangar, return to his body, and he will get a chance to take some revenge on Darth Banks. So
True.
Darth
Maybe
Banks,
he'll show up in the Smash Bash in a couple of episodes.
Who knows?
I ain't picking him.
I like, little dumpster child. He's doing the best he can.
You know what? It's fine, because I won the openers.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
You absolutely
Kit,
did.
you were so on fire. I cannot even, that was amazing.
I had way too much fun just being savage on him. I don't give a fuck about this stupid ass kid.
But Neil, as always, you more than brought it, and I am so glad we were able to get you on for this. You were absolutely perfect for it.
Aww.
Thank you so much. It was great to be Revan, to revisit that character again after so many years.
Time for the Force thanks.
Yay!
Thank you on Twitter to Florian, The Indulgery, Vander Turner, Rafael Medina, Hayden Reynolds, Addis Son of Satan, Cosplay Fiend, Sean Boyd, and the Law and Disorder podcast. Thanks for retweeting or just talking about us. And on Tumblr, thank you to FatBlunt69.
Of course.
Changing Shades, and G Prime. And on Facebook, thank you to Robert Ramsey and James Weaver.
And we also wanted to thank David Kehoe, who was our featured patron this week. And
I can't believe you killed him.
He's a blue Force ghost now. It's totally fine. He will train a new Jedi to take up his saber and be wise and probably appear at the end credits in the latest version of Return of the Jedi that they released.
Jedi will, of course, steal back that scarf at some point and return it to his grave or whatever.
David is a patron of ours. You, too, can join our ridiculous storyline. Maybe you'll get killed by Starkiller. All you have to do is donate to us.
Thank you all very much for listening to this week's episode of Smash Fiction. Next week, it's time for a fire battle. Prince Zuko versus Firestar versus Roy Mustang versus Chandra Nalar.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Revan also cut their way through Is it swathes or swaths?
I
Swaths.
pronounce it swathes, but I know it as
I've
probably...
heard it's swaths as well.
It's
It's
swaths.
swaths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine, I just say it wrong because I can. I like a long A.
You can just say it's
Revan-
your Irish accent and it'll be fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I know,
No,
yeah.
no.
Big Aura, Revan also cut their way through swaths of Dark Jedi.
So it's Dan and Bob on Starkiller?
Yes.
Yep.
Much to my chagrin. Ugh.
I know. No, I don't forget that much. Don't be scared, Dan. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh no,
All right.
I'm not chagrined because of you. I'm chagrined because this is it's harder for me to argue against Revan than it was for me to argue against Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
Dan loves Revan. I mean, I
Well,
don't
also,
blame him.
And also, like, Kefka was very close to Sephiroth, so I was like, okay, I'll do Kefka.
See, that's
but,
just
like,
crazy talk.
But Revan is so much better than Starkiller in terms of like
That's not
characters
crazy
that I
talk. That's correct.
Anyway.
Miles, leave that in. Leave that bit in there, Miles. Thank you.
All of this is admissible, right? Okay.